solve large, intractable problems.
It's a new venture altogether.
Your brain is a wild horse there.
Because remember, writing is not a team sport.
You are not selling horse carriages when there are cars.
I want to be known only as the trusted advisor.
More like a tourist.
Play to Potential podcast.
And picking up on the point around HR, Sudhir, one of the things you talk about in the book is that HR here has teeth.
Yeah.
That's one thing you say.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I found interesting was back to the point around shared experiences. Yeah. You say that the first 10 to 12 years in HUL are like an IAS or a government services kind of a tenure-based career plan, after which high potentials take off and there's an opportunity to differentiate yourself.
Yeah.
Talk to us a little bit about both these. One is about what do you mean by HR has teeth?
Yeah.
And second is why is it that HUL has a sort of interesting approach of 10 to 12 years of predictable career path and then variability?
HR in HUL does indeed have teeth, and I think there are 2 or 3 reasons. It's an independent function in HUL. At the same time, a lot of the HR managers have had the same shared experiences that business folks have had. They've gone through the same management trainee. Their first stint is also in a factory or in a sales branch. So they kind of have seen through the same shared experiences while being an independent function. We've also historically and at a very early stage had HR as an independent function from business. Many companies in the past would have someone who was a technical person or a supply chain person kind of becoming the HR head. Not so much anymore. But HUL very early on had independent HR functions and independent HR professionals. So HR has also been one of the functions which HUL has really developed in a sort of professional sense in India. So this, high quality independent HR guys and then an HR system which is deeply embedded in the business. So independent on one hand, but close to the business on one hand, has kind of meant that we've had a strong HR system that shows the mirror to organizations. I think that's what HR has to do. It doesn't always happen, but most often or very often it does.
And give us a sense of how it plays out when you say show the mirror, make it real for us.
I'm saying, for example, I can't just recruit someone to be a subordinate in my team heading a large business. It doesn't work like that. Ultimately, I'm the final decision maker on people who have to be recruited who report to me. But there is a strong process. There will be a process where HR will bring out CVs of all the candidates. HR will have a strong view. They will insist I interview. Most often an HR person will sit in the interview and they can disagree with me on paper. And if they really strongly disagree, they escalate it. So while I have a sort of nodal function in recruiting my own team, I don't have unfettered freedom, and I think that's the right thing. I don't think in professional organizations, people should have unfettered freedom.
And back to your point about, sometimes the one line of thinking could be people with technical background who have a people orientation could do well in HR because it sort of gives them a sense of how business is done. Yeah. So when you say people in HR, of course, they go through the stint, so they build an appreciation of business. How do you see the trade-off here?
I mean, I don't have a definitive answer for this, and I'm sure there are experts who view it, but I personally feel with the experience of HUL that HR, like marketing or, is not just a flair. Somebody has an HR flair, so you move them. It is a discipline. You have to learn it. You have to go through IR relations. You have to see a branch. You have to business partner someone. You have to work in rewards. So, you got to see the full rotation. Yes, it's very good to have a people sort of flair, like people have a marketing flair, but I think it's a lot more than that. So I would personally, and I guess the jury is out, but I would personally put my sort of money behind an HR function.
I hear you. And back to your point about the career path, sort of the 10 to 12 years of, let's say, steady pace, after which there's acceleration and deceleration. What's the thinking behind that?
Yeah, no, I think it's an interesting thinking. A lot of youngsters sometimes get frustrated with it in HUL. They see their peers early on doing better, going to Europe, traveling business class, whereas they're in some market in some remote corner of India. And even salaries, they move gradually in HUL. So So there is always this sort of feeling that, is this meritocratic? Why is everyone getting the same output? I think it's actually strongly meritocratic. I think one of the strengths of HUL, and I guess the market recognizes it's strongly meritocratic, I think we just don't judge too early. I think there's a full 10 years in which is almost like a extended training. Of course, you have your appraisals, and of course, people are valuing you from a very early age for potential. It's not that you're not being valued even for potential at an early age and so on and so forth. But the thinking is that you do let's take sales and marketing, which is the function that I'm in. You do do a stint in sales, you do a stint in operational marketing, you do a stint in strategic marketing, which is a roughly 8-10 year sort of thing. And then you're fully groomed to kind of go to the next level. And that's really when serious differentiation comes in. I think it prevents, and I think it's a big thing. You should not create heroes too soon, especially in junior management. Results are impacted by many external factors. Of course, and it's not easy to differentiate. And even if it's you, people should get the time. So building heroes and villains too fast is probably not the right thing. And I think the HUL batch system of having batch parity for a reasonable period of time, roughly. And it's not that we have exact batch parity that everybody gets promoted the same day and all. There is differentiation and there is, of course, flexibility. But broadly, looking at it as sort of time-bound for a period of time and then really sort of accelerating or not, I would say is a prudent way of doing it.
And back to, let's say talent retention as a challenge. During the 10-12 year phase when your peers are taking off, and you're sort of chugging along at a sort of a seemingly slow pace, what do you do to ensure that these people don't leave for the wrong reason and they take that long-term view? How do you approach that?
Yeah. So then here's the paradox, which is why you're probably doing the right thing, right? I mean, you don't give the acceleration of 10 years, but you still have very high retentions and you still have people going on for a long time. I think the environment, the camaraderie and the sort of learning environment and a collegial environment, you see the campus here it's almost like a college. It's a good thing and a bad thing, and I'll tell you what's the negative of it. But HUL then forms a universe for you in the first 10, 12 years. That's the advantage of it. So you're living in the universe, you're judging yourself versus this, and it's a big enough universe to kind of live in it, if you can call it a bubble if you want, but it's a universe in itself. The con of it is that after a certain age, we've got to be really aware in HUL that we're not too inward looking and that there is a wide, big world outside HUL. And that could be a sort of con of the HUL way of management if one doesn't sort of take care of it and is not conscious of it.
When you say inward looking, in what sense?
For the same reason, it's a large self-sufficient universe. You can have a lot of your friends from HUL. Your social life is HUL. Your conversations. You have so many categories within HUL that, ice cream is very, very far from Lakme. So you can go and spend some time with the Lakme guys and learn about cosmetics. So there's enough learning in this world. So that's why it can, if you're not careful, become a little inward looking.
Understood.